My man Josh, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and showing me your shed and your workstation and everything you got going on. And I'm excited to dive into Shamma Sandals and everything that's going on with you. And so I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me.
Well, thanks for having me, Roman. And it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you too. And so, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, Josh, give us a brief background on who you are and what you're up to.
There's a lot of people that don't know who I am, for starters. It's a big list. Uh, I I make who am I? Well, I guess whenever you get asked a question like that, I think the most important thing is I'm a husband. My wife and I, we've been married 16 years, and I'm a father of four girls. I've got a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And that's like the best thing I have going for me. Um, and
Wow.
then outside of that, what I'm doing is trying to, support the family. And I'm somebody that, I will not consider myself a great athlete, but I've always enjoyed sports from when I was a very young child. Well, I'll say when I was about 7, and I actually have to give that credit to my mom. Um, when I was up until I was about 7, I didn't play any like rec sports or anything like that, and I
Hmm.
didn't want to. When I was a kid, I was like, I wanted to play with He-Man and Transformers, and I wanted to watch cartoons. That was like my plan. I had thought it out. I'm like, I'm gonna watch cartoons every day I get home from school. So this was like the mid '80s, and my mom one day she's like, "We're taking you to play soccer," and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Well, I went out there and I loved it, and instantly I totally enjoyed competing, and then she took me out in the following spring, and I was playing t-ball, and I was enjoying that. It was so much fun, and I just have always loved playing sports since then.
Yeah.
um, and then I played high school baseball. When I went to college, it was a small school here in Scotts Valley, California, and think when I was a junior, they ended up getting a what do I want to call it, like a club baseball team.
Hmm.
So that was fun for me. I thought my baseball life was over, and I got to play against some Division 1 teams, and our team would get hammered, but I have a great memory. I got to play against, it was Dartmouth College, and they were like on a West Coast little tour, and they were playing Cal Poly, and for me that's a big deal. And I
Yeah.
hit a double, like bounced it off the wall, and I'm trucking around the bases. So like I have some of those memories playing against like real schools.
Oh yeah.
Got to play again. It's like it's scrimmage games, but hey man, it's competition, it's fun.
Gotta love
uh,
that.
Played a lot of rec soccer and on club teams, also some club college soccer, indoor leagues, and just competed in adult softball, man. Once you get to that certain age, it's like you let go of that dream of being a professional baseball player. You start playing softball. And so I guess but while I was doing that, that was just like one half of my life. The other half of my life has always been like using my hands. And when I was young, my we always had projects around the house, and my dad was amongst the many things he did, many things. He was a mechanic, and so we worked in his shop. We worked on cars, and that was partly what he did to like provide for our family. Um, he was also a college professor, and
Wow.
amongst other things, he's kind of did a lot of stuff. So
Renaissance man.
he's a Renaissance man for sure. And in any case, so like a lot of irons and a lot of fires, and but like sports and building things, like I think that's a good connection there, like the physical side of whether you're working with your hands on a car, or later in life I kind of fell in love with construction, like when I was in college. I had this one summer job building a deck for, who was it? He was like the facilities guy at our school.
Yeah.
And he like taught me how to use all the tools that you use as a carpenter, and how to be exacting, and how to like he showed me and my brother, we were both working for him that summer, and we built this deck. It was like 100 feet long. It was around the cafeteria at the school. And he goes, look, Josh, see that right there? If you're off by a 16th of an inch, it's not really a big deal, but over 100 feet, we're off a couple inches here, and we can't have that. And he showed us how to control all those variables and stuff like that. So then as I was in college, and in and out of college, I went, I got a business degree and a minor in psychology. And then I studied for marriage and family therapy. And then I actually ended up getting a master's in theology, along with the marriage and family therapy thing. And the whole time I was like, I didn't know what I was going to school, kind of like everyone else. And then when I basically, I was always having to do construction work, like remodeling houses and things like that to make ends meet. And so I probably did that for like 10, 15 years. And when it was all said and done, and then about when I was around 31, I kind of fell into this whole minimalist running thing.
Yeah.
And it was not something that I had, like, running to me was something. I had a friend say it once. He's like, in order for me to run, I've got to be chasing a ball. And that's how I kind of always looked at running. I could do it. I was always fast. I'm a skillful runner, I think. And, in sports, that was one thing I never even thought about, like running fast, being agile. But running over a distance, like 4 or 5 miles, I don't want to do that. It sounds horrible. You can't breathe, and you're pounding your body to death. But like I'd run, like when my wife and I were dating, like she was into running, and I'd run with her, right?
Yeah,
I'd make an exception. But that was about it. And then, I was still playing like men's slow pitch softball like everyone else. I'm in my early 30s, and I was just getting heavier. I was probably like 20, 25 pounds over what I weigh right now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the worst thing in the world, but I'm just like, I will never be running again. I'm trying to slow down my life. Isn't this just what happens to everyone, right? You get to about 30 years old and you just start you get fluffy, as I like to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like somebody put cotton all over your body, like heat it under your skin.
And you just start naturally buying larger shirts, and you're like, what is this?
Exactly. I was going in, totally, dude. I was going into Walmart, and I'd be like, 36 is getting a little tight, but this 38, man, there's all this room here. I like this. and then it was like, no, this isn't a good road to go down. And so I was playing men's slow pitch softball, and this is where it does tie in. And there was this guy, and he was wearing what I thought were booties, like for surfing.
Yeah.
And he was playing center field. And the league I was playing in was very, it's very competitive. Everyone there played high school ball or college or whatever. And, we're still trying to live our dreams through men's slow pitch softball.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this guy doing wearing booties? In Santa Cruz, I don't know if you have heard of Santa Cruz. Some people have. It has a reputation of being a little weird. And I'm like, we even have bumper stickers, and I'm sure everyone else has the same dumb bumper sticker. It says keep Santa Cruz weird, right?
Yeah.
But in any case, I was like, I know we're in Santa Cruz, but this is a competitive league. What are you doing? Well, I investigated it. It turned out he was wearing Vibram 5 fingers. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. What's this all about? And so I looked into it, and like just the philosophy behind like why you wouldn't have arch support, why you wouldn't have a heel toe drop, why your toes would splay. And it's like, it changes your technique, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, that's eye-opening. That's like an epiphany for me, because whenever you play any kind of sports, technique is king. Am I wrong?
Oh, you're spot on.
It's always technique.
Yeah, technique and efficiency beat strength, speed,
Yeah,
everything like that.
absolutely. And so I was like, well, I want to learn about like why this is so important to our technique. And it was like one of those things where, to me, some things are really difficult to figure out in life, maybe like quantum mechanics or something.
Mhm.
Other things are really simple, and a little change can have like a just massive impact. And you kind of look for those. I guess I'll say, like, all the sabermetrics in sports in the last 15, 20 years is like, hey, look, we can find 5% of a change here and 10% there. You like put those together, and then you have the Golden State Warriors winning the
Yeah.
NBA championship, or whatever it is. Like, it's all looking at these statistics, but this is a massive change.
Mhm.
It's like, I try to explain to people, the basic idea is, when you take, like, for instance, with your car, most people know about an alignment for their car tire. And if you change the alignment on your car's tire by like a 16th of an inch or an eighth of an inch, this tiny little amount, you will burn up your car tires, because they'll be running in like two different directions
Mhm.
as you go down the road. Could you imagine then if you were to elevate your heel 3/4 of an inch all the time? Why
Yeah.
would you do that? That
Yeah.
sounds insane to me. If you really needed uh, another 3/4 of an inch on your heel, you would have been born with it.
That's a
Let
great
me ask
philosophy.
let me ask you a question here, Roman, and I'll ask anyone that's listening. Why do you have an arch?
Why do you have an arch? I'm not exactly sure.
No one knows. No, everyone. No, when I ask the question, no one knows.
Yeah.
But it's like, surely there's a reason there. Well, an arch is it's like a structure of muscles and tendons and ligaments and all that stuff. And what it does is it compresses with each step, right? It's like a spring on the bottom of your foot.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
when you take that spring, any spring, and you put it under load, like, you're compressing it, like you're storing energy, right? This is,
Mhm.
I'm not a physicist or anything like that, but this is like potential energy, right?
Yeah.
So when you, so now you've compressed it, right? In your, like, imagine this is the arch. Now you've flattened it out. So you're squeezing it down. It's got all this pressure. And now where's that energy going to go? It goes out the big toe as you push through on your stride. Now, interestingly enough, the big toe, and I say the big toe because only your big toe is structurally strong enough to handle driving off of. Your little
Mm.
toes, if you start pushing off like your second, third, fourth toe, you'll get this thing, and it's usually the second toe. It'll be called Morton's toe. And the joint there where the toe, they're the phalange, I think, right? Both the hands and the feet, right there, or toes, or fingers and toes are both phalanges. Where it meets, like where your this meeting has been upgraded. Oh, sorry.
Oh, we're good.
I got some dumb announcement. So
Yeah.
where your finger meets there, or your toe meets there, the second toe meets like the foot, that's where you'll get joint pain. I've had it because I've pushed off of that one too much, like running weird or whatever. Um, anyways, and then the last one is like, how many people think, this is an interesting one,
Yeah. Let's hear it.
but so like, those are the three things I always talk about, are like heel toe drop,
Yep.
arch, and then the next one is splay. So if you take an average hand, right? The interesting thing is the thumb. How many people do you know with a deformed thumb?
0.
Like, zero. It's really uncommon. Okay. I'm not picking on anyone with some sort of deformity there, but it's very uncommon. How many people do you know with terrible bunions?
Good amount.
A lot.
Yeah.
And so what is the bunion? It's like the big toe has just been pushed into some unnatural position. You get things like hammer toe, where, like, I'm just trying to, show you what a foot would be like, but hammer toe, where one of the toes starts resting on top of the other toe. I mean, horrible disfiguration. And it's mostly because shoe companies will make shoes that aren't shaped like your feet. And they
Yeah.
just, your feet can't do what they need to do. So
Wow.
a guy you might want to actually interview is this guy, Dr. Ray, is it Callahan, McClanahan, or something like that, from the Northwest Foot and Ankle Clinic. They make correct toes.
Correct
Really,
toes.
yeah, really cool product. But yeah, it's just kind of, so what I was going to say is it's just obvious that the human foot doesn't need arch support, doesn't need a heel support, and doesn't need to be squished into some shape that's not like it.
Yeah.
It's like self-evident. You can do all the research you want and try and figure it out, but you're just like wasting time. It's like, come on. What is it? Hello, McFly. That was what,
Come on, McFly. Yeah. You're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, your story and how you got behind it, seeing the guy in center field with the 5 toes and bringing that minimalist shoe to the market is awesome. I mean, I know that I've had ankle injuries all my life and midfoot injuries, midfoot sprains, just all through wrestling and stuff. And so that was my intention behind when I reached out to you guys, was like, I think that these might be able to kind of strengthen up my ankles, strengthen up my feet a little bit, so that one, I don't necessarily have a crutch getting older.
Yeah.
As with a bad ankle. And so I really want to nip that in the butt at 28 before it starts affecting me and I can't develop the muscles and stuff once I do get older. And so
when you're 40 like me and broken down.
Hopefully not. I'm just at like, I love like learning about longevity.
Yeah.
And I want to keep this vehicle running as smoothly and as best as possible. And so, I know that my ankle has been my, for lack of better words, Achilles heel. And so I just wanted to nip that as quickly as possible. And
Absolutely.
So tell us how the process started beginning from you seeing the 5 toes in that field to then seeing a product come out and how you went about kind of figuring out what a minimalist sandal would be like.
Okay, so first off, I'll just say that I'm not like the inventor of the minimalist sandal.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like I'm just making some, but they're really good ones, and I'll explain why in a moment. But for me, like where it started was that first night. I saw this guy wearing the toe shoes. I was like, okay, and I think I went home. It was like a night game, and just went home and like started banging away on the internet and figuring out what it was all about. And then like the next day I wanted to try this out and see what it was all about. And so for me, like I tried running barefoot pretty much straight away the next day. And with like somewhat predictable results. I thought the idea was like, okay, I just want to be on my toes, right? Kind of like almost like a dog, right? You're like, okay, it would really hurt to land like that heel hit down. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be like running on my toes. And it wasn't like the best, and it wasn't the worst, but I just knew there was like something different. And so like, I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning. And then I realized, okay, you're not supposed to run on your toes. And, I tried just like running on grass fields and then maybe some like really smooth trails. And I was like, yeah, I get it. There's something like, it's a different experience running barefoot.
Oh yeah.
And then I'd also like, before we'd go play football, I'd run for like 10, 15 minutes before we'd start on the grass. And I was like, wow, my stride feels so much better. I feel so much more connected. And I'm like, I want to remember this for when I put my cleats on, right? And then, but so I started doing that. And then I was just like, I was really consumed with it. So I was putting, what was I doing? I was taking my shoes and like ripping parts of the inside out of them so that I could get lower to the ground. And it wasn't working because most shoes, or I wanted to like cut a sole off of one of the shoes that was out there. and that wasn't working. One of the silliest things I did is I have those, like, you ever get moccasins for Christmas?
I'm wearing some right now.
There you go. I ripped the insole, everything out of it. So it was just like this thin piece of rubber. And we have, it's called Westcliff Drive here in Santa Cruz. It's like on the west side of town. It's just beautiful, like coastal 5 mile loop trail or back and forth trail on the coast. And the deal was that I ran in Westcliff in moccasins and I pulled the inside out.
Yes. I love that.
So like anything I could do to run lower to the ground. Well, and then my father-in-law, he came home, and this is kind of this was a seminal moment for me. He goes, "Hey Josh," because he was into it too. Like, and he's always trying the latest thing. He's like, "Okay, I went online, I figured out how we can make you sandals. Sandals are great." So he worked for the water department, and he had this sheet of rubber that they used to clamp leaks on these huge pipes. And I like to say he stole it. It sounds better. It's more exciting.
Yeah.
So he brought it home from work, and he went to the hardware store and he bought some like nylon cord, and he showed me, like, I was so impressed with him. He knew where to punch it, where to tie it, how to tie it up, and he made me these sandals. And I took those out and I ran on Westcliff, and I got to tell you, they were awful. I looked like a clown, and they were awful. And so I kind of just gave up on the sandals after that, and doing my own thing. And I went over to REI and I bought some Vibram Five Fingers, and I started running like crazy in those things. And I was running all the time, and I was becoming a runner. Like, I wasn't a runner before, and now all of a sudden I wanted to do this thing, this
Yeah.
running thing. So it was like I was making tons of mistakes, and also like just doing something completely new, both physically and with the gear I was using. And so I did that that was like about November when I got those sandals that year, or those Five Fingers, and I love them. I wore them everywhere, but here's the problem with Five Fingers. They stink. They stink so bad. And it's not actually the Five Fingers, it's you. It's your feet. And
Yeah.
it's just like, what if you only owned one pair of socks? And like every time you wore them, you'd have to wash them.
Yeah.
It's like impossible. So they're a really cool product. I still own some. I use them from time to time. I'm not trying to bag on them. They're a cool company. I use their soling material exclusively, Vibram. But I was like, I need another option.
Yeah.
Merrell came out with this shoe called the Trail Glove. It was also super thin. Awesome. Great product. And they've since kind of made it thicker and more shoe-like than it should be. That's unfortunate. And then it was like around March, May, and there was this company I heard of. I had heard about them early on. It was called Luna Sandals. And this guy, his name's Barefoot Ted. And
That's a great
have you
nickname.
heard of him?
I haven't, but I'm gonna look him up after that.
Yeah, okay, you'll
Barefoot
see.
Ted.
Barefoot Ted. And there's this book, it's called Born to Run. And this guy, Chris McDougall, he wrote this story, and one of the characters in it was Barefoot Ted, amongst a number of characters. He's not the main character of the book, but he was part of this whole thing. And they kind of went, this guy, Chris McDougall, was in his 40s, and he played basketball, and the doctor's like, dude, you can't run anymore. You're too tall. You're too big. It just doesn't work. And he tried getting all these expensive shoes, and none of it worked. And then he saw these Indians from the Copper Canyons of Mexico running in like a car tire that they had cut out with like leather tied around their ankle. And these guys run 70 miles, 80, 90, 100. They run into old age. So like at 70 years old, these guys are still running around big distances. He's like, how come I have all this technology and they have none of that technology, and they are killing me distance wise and running? And so he investigated it, and that's what the book Born to Run is about. so I read that book and I was a little familiar with him, but they made this sandal that to this day, it was like one of the greatest in my mind sandals ever. I'm just a fan. Like, um, did you ever, there used to be this thing called, I don't, you're only 28. So there was this thing called Behind the Music, right?
I think I'm
Uh,
right. Yeah, I think I used to remember watching Behind the Music.
I'm so old now. All these things that were commonplace are like distant
You're
memory.
right on time, man. No, you're doing great.
So there's this thing called Behind the Music, and Metallica was on there. And I think people know who Metallica is, barely. But
No, we got
Metallica
yeah.
was like, they were talking about their story, and they're like, we're just fans of heavy metal. We loved it. So we just started doing it too. And I've just been a fan of, so these sandals were so cool. It was just like a 6 millimeter piece of foam that they stamped out, and there was an elastic strap that was 5/8 of an inch wide, and then it was covered in leather. And so it was like stretchy,
Mm,
this long stretchy strap. So you tie it a knot between the toes, like under the bottom of the sandal, and then it would like wrap around your foot, and you tie this knot that looked like a bow on the top of your foot. But this stretchy material would hold that really lightweight piece of soling material on your foot. And the cool thing was, like, that's all you really need. You just need a little bit to break up a lot of the abrasion from when you're running, to make running comfortable. Like, people are really shocked when they find out how little soling material you actually need under your foot. The thing that really hurts you when you're running, it's not a hard surface. It's a hard surface with a rock on top of it, and you step on the rock and there's nowhere for the rock to go, right?
yeah.
That hurts. But if you have a flat surface like concrete, it's like you can be barefoot. It's like butter. It's really easy. And eventually abrasion will take place or that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
it's really easy. So anyways, I fell in love with those sandals. I wore them everywhere, and like more and more. So I had my trail gloves, and I had my 5 fingers, and I had my Luna Equus sandals. And like more and more I was like reaching for the sandals. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm running out in the woods like 5 or 6 miles, and my feet are uncovered. This is crazy. Should I
Yeah,
be doing this? Yes, I should be doing this.
that's
um
awesome.
my hands don't live in gloves all the time.
Yeah.
Why
No,
shouldn't I?
I agree. And like that's why I enjoyed liking them. I mean, even the first day I got my pair right here, but the first day I was just in the garage jump roping
Uh-huh.
and I see this kid run by. Well, no, at first I see this dog run by, no leash, no collar. And then I see this kid run by and I'm like, okay, now I got to go catch this dog. And so I put my jump rope down and I run behind the house, and this dog is running through the woods, running through the forest, and just running through all the. And my roommate Pat, he's helping find the dog too. I didn't know he got recruited somehow too, but he was finding him as well. And he sees me running, and he knows that I was working out in these sandals, and he was like, man, you're not going to be able to go too fast in these sandals. And I was like, nah, I'm good. And so I actually ended up catching the dog, and then I came back and he was like, man, how'd you get away with no scratches or anything on your foot? And I was like, yeah, I was just kind of watching where I plant my feet and was
Use
more,
your eyes.
yeah, I was more aware of where I was stepping and things like
Yeah.
that. And then it does kind of change your technique a little bit. You're obviously not striking with the heel
Yeah.
when you are running, but shoot, they were comfortable. And like, I was just planning on testing them with the jump rope and just doing a basic test. And then I passed the dog catching test. And so dog catching in the woods. And so I was like, man, and then I came back, I was running and they were just still on my feet perfectly. They haven't moved. My feet
Well,
haven't
we're gonna
shifted.
have to add that to like list of activities, dog catching, like on the
Oh,
website, dog catching. Um,
yeah. Because it was
we'll
perfect.
even put a little graph, like a little meter, like in Mario Kart or something, like it's strong in dog catching.
Yeah, it could be dog catching, running in the woods. But yeah, I mean, I was actually very surprised at how well they fit, and and then I mean, I tried them again. I went and ran up a mountain Crowder's
Yeah.
Mountain out here in North Carolina, and about 2 miles up, 2 miles down. And like
Yeah.
you mentioned, the only time it really hurt was if I stepped on a rock that was out of place, and I couldn't do it. But it wasn't even like painful. It was more just you felt the pressure
And
of the
then you
rock
lift up
underneath.
quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's actually so the big secret to all this is that what people do, and to me, this was like I was telling you, like my dad did a lot of different things. And one of the things he did was, he was a professor of addiction studies, right?
Wow.
And like, so, he worked with addicts like his whole life. And one of the things that addicts do is they trade like the short-term cessation of pain for long-term harm.
Mm.
Like, and there's a difference. Like, pain's okay.
Yeah.
Pain's like a natural thing we all need. Like, if you don't have pain, then you'd beat yourself up, you'd cut yourself, you'd like, if you're like walking around and your pain helps like, hey, there's a table there, I don't want to like ram my hip into that,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll hurt so bad. Well, the pain's so important because it keeps you healthy,
Yeah. It's
right?
like a defense mechanism.
Absolutely. So like and there's different levels of pain, but just on a basic level, we need that feedback. That's so critical to like human safety, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And emotional and whatever other kind of pain, we need all of it. It's critical. And so what's kind of happened, and I think this is part of our culture, is that we're so pain avoidant, and that's like a human thing too, right? We don't want and it's warning us, hey, this is going to hurt you. Well, back in the day, it was fine in 1850, when it's like, the pain I'm trying to avoid is starving this winter, so I better get off my butt and plant the fields and then harvest them and like
Mm-hmm.
take care of the horse, like that kind of thing. That's fine. And then like you'll go home and eat your food, like, and so you'll live. But now it's like,
Yeah.
dude, you can have hot pockets and chicken nuggets and like whatever you want all the time, and your body's like, yeah, dude, you should rest. You should rest all the time. And it's like, you couldn't do that in the past. Most people couldn't. Kings and people of really high standards of living. But as much as people will complain here, our standard of living is off the charts in human history.
It really
I
is.
had this one professor go like, it's like, if you live in California and you have X income, you've probably lived better than most kings in human history. And it's
Wow.
true. If
Yeah.
you think about Louis the 14th and like how many different kinds of food they'd bring him to choose from that night, even if you have a pretty low end job in California right now, you just go into the town and you could choose from like 40 different kinds of food, like crazy good food. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a struggle not to overeat. For me, maybe
Yeah.
not you, but
Oh, but yeah,
it's all good.
yeah, calorie intake skyrocketed ever since,
Oh yeah.
like decade after decade. It's just like our increase in calories and the food we eat and everything is just disgusting almost.
It's insane. It's totally insane. Even in my relatively short life, I've seen it change so dramatically, and the amount we eat out too, and all of that, it's insane. But anyway, so the same thing happens with your shoes. So people have said like, oh, I want to be more comfortable, and the problem is, it's not my technique, it's not my training, it's not any of those things, right? It's not me, it's my shoes. So I need to add a little more cushioning, and then I can be a little sloppier with my running, so that you take away that feedback, right? And it's just like taking away any other pain that you're feeling. And it's not good. It just makes people unhealthy and less able to cope and deal with their environment, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely understand. I mean, I was like, it's funny because I'll wear the sandals out, and like I stepped out of my car and I saw a bunch of girls laughing at me right when I stepped out. Like I just put one foot out and then I reached back in to get something, and then I look over and they're just like they're dying over there. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, whatever. My feet feel stronger.
It's called sandal shaming.
Yeah. And then I was like, I was with a bunch of friends, and I had one girl that was like, those are not going to make your feet stronger. Those are going to hurt you over. And I was like, you can have that opinion. I was like, my feet feel much stronger after the first week. And like, I mean, I've always been a fan of just jump roping barefoot and things, trying to structure and I believe in the sandals. And so is there any like scientific backing or anything that like shows that it does increase strength in the feet, or anything like that you kind of have heard over the years?
Well,
or even any theories like that?
so there are a few different books out there. Who's the guy? Barefoot Ken Bob.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a book on it. There's another like in Born to Run. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, little facts. There's this guy Daniel Lieberman. He's a PhD and he's like anthropologist, and he has done a number of studies. And you know, there are more and more studies coming out. I think around 2012 or 13, I want to say something like that. So like Vibrams were like catching fire, and there was all this minimalist footwear out there all of a sudden. Like who is it? You know, you had Merrill. Why can't I think of the other company? There was a lot of little startups, but the Minimalist was a sandal or a shoe also that came out. It's not Adidas. Adidas had their own thing. Who made the Minimalist? Okay, I can't even remember. But the Minimalist trail shoe, you can look it up. And in any case, and Vibram was doing great. I even saw there was a time like Vibram was even at Costco, our local Costco. Like that's how like big it was getting, right? And it's unfortunate because so they did this study, they did some study, and it's been debunked where like Nike or whoever saw this as a threat, and they needed to like get some studies out there showing that it caused injury and all that. So they like gave people minimalist shoes and then not minimalist shoes. This is, I think it was done somewhere in like Haiti or the Dominican Republic or something like that. They did this study and they just checked for injuries afterwards over a certain, you know, period of time. But they basically had people, here's the big problem. And this is actually my recommendation to you, Roman, personally. It's called barefoot, and it's what I had. It was barefoot exuberance or over exuberance. Like you feel something different. Like it's clear. You've changed, you like kind of reset your alignment. Vivo Barefoot makes some awesome stuff, and they might have some good resources on this.
Okay.
They're another good option. But so they basically said, oh, look, these people trained and they had more injuries or whatever, so it's not going to work for you. And then people just in general were like, hey, I'm a runner. I'm just going to get out there and just start, you know, beating pavement with my feet and everything's going to be great. It doesn't work. Like, I think it's like, there's two things. One is like, how old are you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe three things. How much training do you currently have? And then and then how much training do you have in minimalist footwear?
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people, I think the best example is if you have run in and worn shoes your whole life, it's like the Matrix. Okay, remember when Neo comes out, he's like, hey, how come I can't walk? Well, you've never walked before. It's the same kind of thing. Your foot has been working where your arch isn't really doing its job. And your feet are squished together. And so like when your feet are squished together, your foot is like tensed in a different way. And you're just used to using different muscles and all that. So you really need to take your time. The older you are, the more time you need to take to transition. And even so I see this physical therapist for about like 5 or 6 years now, or maybe even longer. And he says even just with regular running, because he sees all kinds of clients about it, because even with regular running, he's like, he doesn't want you to increase more than like, 10% week on week,
Yeah.
and people are just like, well, I just want to go out and run a marathon.
Yeah. They're
And
just,
he's like, no, you you actually don't have the reserves, the training reserves to go out and perform the way you want to. You have to build those up. People don't like to hear that.
yeah.
There's actually like a window that you can train in. Like too much training and you hurt yourself. Too little training and you don't grow. So you have to be in that. Like, he's somebody you might want to interview, actually. Jeff Moreno, from uh, Power Lab, and his whole company is designed to help you train in that right zone.
Yeah. Yeah. You
So
can't
a
just,
lot
you
of
can't
people,
just Forrest Gump it
yeah,
and take off cross country.
totally. So that's kind of the deal with it. And it's, I heard this other guy say, Chris McDougall, he was giving some lecture at Google or something like that. He said, it's not a panacea, barefoot running. So it requires training like anything else. I mean, the benefits are really, they're great. They're big benefits, but you have to still work at it like anything else. There's nothing in life. Like, I think that's the main thing that I see out there. And I've experienced it myself. We always want some like new diet or some new workout regimen or
Quick
whatever. But
fix.
yeah, but it's always just like, it comes down to how committed you are to being consistent and performing that motion or task, correctly over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most
No.
people don't want to do that.
Yeah. I don't know why people are so, they're so invested in the final product, the end result, that they just like don't want to do the process at all. They
Yeah.
and especially in this fast-paced world. I mean,
Yeah.
people just want to find that quick fix, want to find something, and at least in my knowledge and what I've learned over my years is that it's lifestyle changes that
Yeah.
will make the results last. That consistency, and that's something that you can do every day, little by little, 1% better, will kind of get you there.
Exactly. And there's a cost. There's a cost to everything you do. And I think one of the things, like going back to sabermetrics, you're seeing the same kinds of things with, like with physical therapy or, exercising, working out and all that. It's like, if you actually try to do all the things you're supposed to do, quote unquote, like it's like juggling 10 balls, right? And you just cannot do it. So, and then like, it's cool. Like, I heard you have a roommate, so I'm supposing you don't have kids. Wait till you throw kids in the mix. Like,
Yeah.
that's just insane, apparently they need like attention from their family or something weird like that.
Yeah,
So
they need to be held or something, like hold
yeah,
their hand.
so you can't, we're very limited people. And so, I understand it. Um, and again, and like we were talking about food, there's so much great food out there and so many options, and it's like, you just got to say no sometimes to some of it, or you have to say yes to, I'm going to run even though I don't want to run today, even though I'm tired and it's raining or whatever. The people that have success, right,
Mhm.
the outliers, well, they're consistent.
Yeah, it's like
It's pretty
the
simple.
the overnight successes have been working for the past 10 years.
Totally. Well, it's the same thing. It's everything. And like with our, my company, it's been the same thing of just like, it's a grind.
Yeah.
You're making a product, and now you're on the hook for that. It better work, and you better send it to the people on time. And then if they have a question, I mean, it's a total grind,
Yeah.
in that sense. And I think that's maybe one of like I'll just be sticking up for business owners everywhere here, where it's like, people don't realize how much goes into getting a product out to you. And I'm not trying to complain to, I'm just the general, like, I'm just always been somebody that's been really impressed and grateful for just like the abundance we have here in the United States. It's just amazing. And as soon as like a new fad comes out like this, there's a bunch of companies that do what I'm doing, and they're providing that. And if you just want to try and make it for yourself, good luck. I I mean, that
Yeah.
kind of was where I started. I just wanted to make them for myself or some friends, but in order to make them to the level that I wanted or to improve them, I had to spend, all this money and time to get there. And I'm still on the way. I'm not there yet. It's just farther along, I guess.
Yeah. And it's like, do you ever actually get there? It's like
No,
you never
no.
actually get there. And so over the years, because you said it's been 7 years since the
I think
company.
about 2013 is when I actually, it was either late 2012 or early 2013 that I got like my business license.
Okay, so yeah, about 7 years ago. How has the product changed over the last 7 years, like based on the materials and everything like that? Because I know that you're with your passion, you're continuing to evolve, and the products I assume are doing the same thing. And so, how have they grown over the past 7 years?
I will make one little alteration to what you're saying. I don't like the word evolve. And this is why,
Let's hear it.
because I think evolve means you're passive. You are
Ooh,
you are just, or what is the idea behind evolution? It's a random mutation, right? That a random mutation that doesn't kill you, that actually, is usable, right?
yeah,
So I like, because we were writing this little like about page like years ago, and the guy's like, and the sandals continue to evolve. I'm like, no, I worked on them.
yeah. You're
Sorry,
intentional.
intentionally.
Yeah,
Yeah. I said this worked and that didn't, and I discriminated between choices and products and materials. So just a little detail, since we're talking about development. I
hey,
like to say they develop, you
I love
know.
it.
So yeah, and I'm sure Microsoft has an R&D department, or Apple or whoever, right? It's not
Yep.
their evolution department. They're just like, see what happens to the phone.
Yeah, just evolve. Just evolve. It's like
It just
Pokemon.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, if you get to a certain level, you give them a rare candy, and then they're involved.
Yeah. So, like as far as the product went, I was mentioning to you that I was a big fan of this Luna Equus sandal. And early on, I just wanted to make a sandal for myself. And like, I was a cheapskate, and I thought, well, if I can figure out where to buy this soling material and I could just put some kind of thing or like lasso it to my foot, then it'll be great. And I won't have to pay the price of buying from these other companies. But like as far as the way it's developed, what I've done is I've really, I think I've seen it in my head for a long time, like what
Mhm.
I want it to be. Maybe not exactly, because like I mentioned, I did a lot of construction and building, you know, and I still do it. I'm doing it as we speak, and I don't know what it is with me, but I'll usually see what I'm gonna build ahead of time,
Mm,
like the finished product. If
yeah.
it's a house, if it's a whatever, I just see it. Okay, it's there. And so when I got originally started with the sandals, I was like, I mean, I could see it. Like we put a man on the moon, and we have computers and video game systems and all these cool things. And it's like, why don't we have sandals that like deal with all of these issues regarding the foot, right? Why isn't somebody just making this?
Yeah.
How come I can't just go on Amazon and find it right now? And so there were companies that were selling them, but I just thought they've all kind of been lacking. But I just thought initially, like the sandals should, like the laces should just stay up around your foot. You really shouldn't have to worry about them staying up around your foot. That should just be like a given. And, and they should be pretty durable, and they should be really easy to adjust, right? Why aren't they? And so most of the sandals out there at the time, like I was telling you, it was just like a long strap that was like weaving in and around and outside of the foot and you tie it. The problem is that most of the like if you tie webbing around your foot, and we've done that too, webbing doesn't have any like structural integrity. It's just like if you wrap it around where the ankle goes and it goes around the heel, it's just gonna fall down.
Yeah.
And so like I had so anyways, I don't want to take you through like every little thing I've done, because it would be like hours and hours we'd be talking. But
Yeah.
it just started off like, well, the first thing was to figure out how to not tie a knot under the toe. So we made this little toe plug, and it became like a very like you've got it there on your sandal. See that little piece? Yeah, the toe plug.
Yeah.
And so what we do for that is we just take like 1/2-inch tubular webbing that's coming off the top of it. My father-in-law makes them. He's made tens of thousands of these things. And he just heats it with a heat gun and then squishes it down, lifts it up and trims it off. And then we sew it to whatever it is. But that little piece, like, it solved a problem
Of having a knot
instead of a knot. And now we have this like more of like a foundational piece that has been in every lacing system since. Okay. So then it was like, what's the next problem? And then we were attaching it to webbing or leather, and we found different ways to attach it, or we'd find like a different buckle that would work with it. And the first buckle, you can still get it on our classic sandals, is just a buckle from a backpack.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's like just this. It's
These
just
ones,
like
these ones that you.
Yeah, just those ones. It's called a tension lock. It's a 3/4 inch tension lock. It's nothing special, but we used that, and there was a way to like weave it in and out, and it worked, and it would hold onto your foot. But still, you could get like slipping issues and this and that, and then so then like with our but I wanted it to be easier than that too, right? So I called it the no sweat lacing system. It was like our second lacing system. So we like moved past that just a long leather strap, and I started sewing like hook and loop. You can't say Velcro. It's not Velcro, because Velcro would like find your podcast and sue you or me or something. It's
hook
not
and loop.
Velcro. It's hook and loop. And so so now it's like, and I found this other buckle that would work. And actually I was going running here in town at this local trail, and there was it's a sternum strap adjuster. So it's like if you want to adjust your backpack strap from side to side, you'll see that.
Oh yeah, I use a clip, and then it pulls on one side.
Yeah, so it's like one of those kind of things, maybe a little simpler. But so I saw that, and I was like, I want that to be on the sandal, and I want to use hook and loop to adjust it, right?
Yeah.
So that adjustment becomes easier. And so we were using stuff that was off the shelf until I could get enough money together to buy a custom made buckle that like fit our material, fit everything just right. And that was like a huge process, right? Coming up with the idea, and then working with I should give a lot of credit to Daniel Chamberlain, who's like kind of been my partner in all this. And he like, we struck a deal early on, like so he'd get a percentage of the money, and that way he'd handle like the marketing and website, and yeah, he like would help me design these things in 3D, and then we'd get them 3D printed, and then we took them to the company that would make it. And so every little thing has a story to it. And like, if you notice, I just keep working back through the sandal and making it better. And I think though, one of the things that really kind of separates Shamma Sandals from all the other sandal companies, at least the independent, what I'd call like smaller ones, like the Lunas and Bedrocks and like Unshoe and now there's like Zero Shoes. Zero Shoes has gotten pretty big, and Bedrock's gotten a lot bigger too. But we put a lot more, and I think since the beginning, we've been doing a lot more sewing.
Yeah, I see I see like that the side pieces are like one piece that splits from the front of the foot and the back of the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do see that detail and stuff in there. It's
There's a lot of sewing involved. And even from the beginning, when I would sew that hook and loop, like no one else was sewing. It was always like some kind of tension thing to hold it in place because it's cheaper. It's just a lot more expensive to sew. It's like it's a whole nother animal you're inviting into your workshop. And it's not a friendly one either.
yeah. No, I can imagine. I mean, I've even thought about doing t-shirts, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to sew some tags in and things like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just adding different aspects to it. But man, I will tell you that you do have a badass sandal. And well, at what point did you add the leather to the?
That was like about, I want to say, probably within the first year,
Okay.
maybe. Yeah, definitely. Like we used to sell it, we'd call it naked top. There was just nothing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the sandal that you have is the soling material that I originally had those years and years ago. That same 6 millimeter Vibram Morflex. And so it works without it. So I was telling you earlier, those sandals from Luna, I loved them. I wore them everywhere. I put hundreds of miles on them. And like the end of the summer, my wife and I, she became pregnant with our third child, and we planned it out and everything, and we went on our last like honeymoon before she was going to get terrible morning sickness and all that. Or I mean, not honeymoon, our anniversary, so we went to Lake Tahoe, and we did this awesome adventure, and I was wearing the sandals the whole time, and it was we like walked in a couple miles to this place called Emerald Bay. Just incredible. If you ever get a chance, please go there. Just go to Tahoe. It's beautiful. And then we like went swimming and this place called Vikings Home, this beautiful beach and just clear water, blue water, insane. And then we did like a 9 mile run, and I'm wearing sandals and we're swimming here and there. It was just like swimming and hiking and just having this great old time. And then come back, and the whole thing was like 14 mile, like a 14-mile adventure. I'm wearing my sandals. I'm like, that is why they're worth the money. It's when you can
Yeah.
experience just nature in with bare feet. That's incredible. Or essentially barefoot, and be able to run and really enjoy it. So in any case, man, where was I going with this? So anyways, I was just hooked. I was like, oh yeah, I'm off track now.
Yeah, I know you started with the Luna shoe, and you were talking about that.
Oh, the leather. Oh, the naked top. So anyways, I did all that with like a naked top sandal. It was, and I managed to do it. But since then, it's like as we improved the sandals, it was like, ooh, leather is better. It makes the sandal better. It's more finished. The leather's cool because it'll actually absorb a little bit of foot sweat. Like a small amounts of moisture, it manages it really well. The naked top wouldn't, get all slimy and stuff. You put the leather in the water, not so much. But then we came up with our Ultra Grip, and I worked with this company to develop this footbed that it's got a really high non-slip coefficient, and it also I set up the pattern so it gets rid of dirt and water really easily, quickly. Anyways, you just do stuff like that. I spent a year, like a whole winter, basically trying all these different soling material or materials for the footbed, all these off-the-shelf anti-slip ones. And I tried them all, and then I got to the point, I was like, well, what is it that I want, and why do some of these work and some of them don't? And so it finally dawned on me that your foot is actually the road in this analogy. So on top of the road, you've got a car tire, right? And what keeps a car tire on? So you've got this flat surface, and it's got siping in it, right? Unless you're doing NASCAR, where it's just a flat slick, right? But most of the time, you have a flat surface with siping, the drainage lines, and you want to be able to the water to push out. So with our Ultra Grip, it's just like flat diamond pattern. I did a diamond so that it's
Mm.
got channeling in every direction. So when you're stepping on it, you're actually you've got a large contact patch and you're pushing water out and dirt in all directions. And it
Yeah.
works pretty well. So, just little things like that. You just kind of go to the next problem
Yeah.
and how do you fix it? How do you make it better?
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah, that how you, especially the analogy that you just put it in, like making it super easy for me to understand. And I'm like, oh yeah, you just step on it, everything disperses, you use the drainage systems essentially,
yeah, like,
and you're good.
but I mean, it's not that complicated, but I guess it took me a while to figure out what it was I wanted. And then this company was cool enough to, they made it for us, and all that stuff's scary, man. As a business, it's like $5,000 to build this roller, with the pattern in it, and then it's like another $7,000 to get your first shipment, and it's like,
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
I know those are like just chump change to every other business, but it's that's part of the whole. Who knows if it's going to work, and hopefully it does, but it has so far.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And so you mentioned the first thing you mentioned was actually your family
Yes.
and your kids and your wife and the husband you are and the dad that you are. How do you balance your work life with your entrepreneurial spirit and trying to make this business grow and support them?
I think the word would be barely. No, um, no. It's well, part of the reason I opted for this to do this business was really so that I could be close. I mean, it's here at my house.
Yeah.
My family's here. Um,
Work from
I
home.
introduced. What's that?
Work from home.
Exactly. Now everyone's catching up to me. With Zoom, with the coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
But actually, I kind of had a little philosophy for myself at different jobs. We all have all kinds of jobs we go through, and some of them were good, some of them were bad, and I just wanted to take the things that I know how to do. Like, I think I'm a pretty good carpenter, and I was like an okay mechanic, but I wanted to like take those things and like use them to my advantage, right? Like, I have a skill set. Let me use that, and then I can work from home, and I don't have to go on the commute. I don't have to, you know, drive here in Santa Cruz. Like, you have to drive 30, 40 minutes to Silicon Valley, right? San Jose area. And I worked there a few years, and it's like you're spending 40 minutes, an hour driving there, and 40 minutes or an hour driving back. And it's like, oh, please, no.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but as far as managing it all, it's tough at times. It definitely is. I definitely, um, think about it way too much and am involved in it way too much. But the cool thing is, this was my point I was going to make. I remember, I don't want to work for people. I want to work with people.
Yep.
Um, and that's been one of the really cool things is, uh, I've been able to choose who I get to spend my time with while I'm at work. And so some of them are in earshot. One person is of this, but, you know, I've been really blessed to be able to have some really cool people to work with. Even my brothers, two of my brothers have worked with me along the way. One of them works with me like all week, every week, and that's great. I mean, who gets to work with their family?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like the best. And so I really count those things as blessings. And sometimes, I take too much of it stays at home with me. But
Yeah.
it's life. If you're trying to avoid work, you're in trouble. You're gonna have a miserable life.
Yeah. You got.
You better embrace that.
Yeah. Yeah. Embrace the grind and enjoy the process because you're going to be doing it either way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely.
Avoiding it is its own work. Oh yeah, I saw this. I digress. So my
Yeah.
wife and I, we were in Italy, and it was when my wife was 5 months pregnant with our oldest daughter. It's just like our last chance to go to Europe. We'd never been, so we went, I don't know if she's like 4 or 5. The last time, like the cutoff for her to be able to fly over and back.
Mhm.
We're walking around Rome, and in Rome, there's all these gypsies. Hopefully, I don't get any gypsy hate here, but the gypsies would like be out on the streets, um, either trying to like scam you for money, like running all these little scams, or they would be on these, they'd be like human statues. So this one guy was like the Statue of Liberty. He's like on a box and he had all this stuff on. He'd stand there for hours and you're supposed to like give him some money.
Yeah.
Or they'd in different costumes. And we're walking along and this one British guy, because there's all tourists there, this British guy is walking like in earshot of me. He goes, I think I'd rather work like than stand there
Yeah.
avoiding work. It's like kind of obvious.
Oh
But
my gosh.
whatever.
That is funny. I mean, yeah, I feel
Or
like
it
some
was
people
like
just
I'd
don't
rather
want
get
to.
a job or something. So
Yeah. It's like, I've seen those people. Where was I at? I think I was in San Francisco that are on, that are on like the pier and that they're
yeah,
doing all the different shows and stuff. And you got the guy who's like on a chair on a platform with another chair and he's doing a handstand on top and things like that. And he's like, and if you,
that sounds interesting.
yeah, it's
That
like
actually
that.
sounds.
I can see that. But if you're just standing there as a statue, and I can't even imagine that guy getting that many tips.
I can't either. No, really, that part floored me. I was like, this can't be lucrative at all.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe if there's a lot of tourists from New York, but
yeah,
that's a
I
small target market.
I guess it worked. I guess it worked for them. So, and I mean, I'll say this: at least they were doing something. I think that I would even, try and be a little gracious there and say,
Yeah,
at
you got
least
that
they
right.
were trying something, you know. So, but yeah. Anyways, that's not for me.
Yeah, yep. I feel you on there. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to grind. I'm ready to take care of business. And I'm
Yeah.
actually, I want to one day work with my family too. I want that to be like I know like my brother did my artwork for my podcast logo and everything. And
It
so
looks very good, by the way.
thank you. I got to update it because now I got some long hair instead of the short hair. But yeah, I'm like trying to get that updated and trying to keep him involved, and hopefully I can get him creating the art for me the more I need it. And my sister loves fashion. If I can get her doing something with some merchandise, that'd be something special as well. And then my dad. I mean, my dad sounds similar to like you and your dad being the carpenter creator. Like I'll have to share some stuff.
Yeah.
I was on the phone with him right before you, and he's creating these boxes out of like these wooden boxes that are almost like wooden pumpkins.
Uh-huh.
But he's also created like these motorcycles that are like he'll buy a model motorcycle and then he'll make it
Yeah.
5 times to scale out of wood.
Okay.
It is phenomenal.
Crazy.
Like, yeah, I mean, I'll send you pictures and stuff. I mean, he like the amount of, I mean, he puts like 140 hours into them, but they are badass, like something you'll definitely enjoy seeing. And
That's cool, man.
yeah, and so even just talking to you, I just like was getting vibes just from my dad, just because he like you envisioning the product before you even see it, and things like that. I mean, it's pretty cool to see, and so I enjoyed like hearing that
Yeah.
aspect and kind of connecting those dots a little bit.
Right on. Yeah, no,
Yep.
your dad sounds like a cool guy. Like he's doing some awesome stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that does he sell them or what does he do with them?
Well, with the motorcycles, he's went and he's like that's almost more of an art show type deal, because I mean
Yeah.
because it's such a fascinating product. I mean, even with 140 hours into it, it's like you're gonna have to charge some money, and so it's like
Yeah, absolutely.
he started doing
Absolutely.
the boxes and stuff so that he can kind of pump out more products and get more customers. Um, but yeah, he's interested in selling them. And oh, and I forgot, he actually has I think it's a '78 Volkswagen Beetle that he worked on it for years, and then he finally finished it, and it's badass. It's sunken down to the ground. It's a nice lowrider. It's like he describes it as a just a badass go kart, just because it's so low to the ground and everything.
That's
But
awesome, man.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to connect you two and see if you guys can
Awesome.
connect on some things. But kind of closing up, I wanted to kind of see like where people can find you on social media, where they can find Shamma Sandals, and how they can get their hands on them.
Well, getting their hands on them is pretty easy. You just go to the internet, you pick up your phone, order online. Um, we really recommend that people uh, like try and print out we have templates like a PDF. You just download it. If you got a printer, not everyone has a printer, I know.
Yeah.
But if you can, then you can just like see how your foot fits on the sandal, and it works great, I think. So I mean, that's going to be like that's the same file that we use to make the die that's going to cut it out. So if it works on that, and your foot works on that, it'll work in general. On social media, I mean, I think I'm a terrible social media person, so other people kind of do it for me. Like if I didn't have a business, I wouldn't have a Facebook account. But you have to have one in order to start a business. So it's like
Yeah.
There's this scene in Gone with the Wind where everyone's dead at the beginning, and like those are all the friend requests on my Facebook. It's like fields of dead people. But the thing we do a lot of, we're really active on Instagram. And so some people work really hard for me to be active on Instagram. We're there. And so if you follow us there, you'll find out when we have sales or deals or all that kind of stuff, and just kind of see what we're doing. And then also YouTube, that's actually where I spend a lot of my time. And so I've been working on that channel, just like you're working on your channel, man. And it's like again, it's totally set up for the work you put in, right? And the consistency. Like 250 videos or something we put up.
Wow.
In 7 years. And like we just put a video out every week. And what I really want to do with that, like my goal with that, is a lot of people have no idea why they would want to run in sandals or use the sandals or whatever. And I just want to be a voice for I just want to be a voice for minimalist running and movement and life, I guess. And maybe just like a healthier approach to life, or a less, I don't know, less help. Like I was saying earlier, like you don't want to trade that. Like there's short-term pain but long-term harm. Let's not do that, right?
Yeah.
Like embrace a little the useful pain. Like I'm not a sadist, just the useful pain. Like let's try and do that, because I think that there's more than just a what do I want to say? It's not just a trend or some hobby. It's like your physical equipment works pretty well. You have incredible equipment. Boston Dynamics a few years ago, when they showed that robot jumping.
Oh yeah.
Right.
That was wild.
The first time I was ever afraid of a robot. Before that, like any attempts to like even remotely emulate a human's ability, it's our dexterity, our ability to be agile and nimble, not even close. I was like, I'll just walk behind the robot and unplug it or whatever. That robot scared me. I was thinking Terminator, but like, don't give that thing a gun. But so we're just so capable. And again, then you're going to have all this incredible suspension system, but you're going to shortcut it with a fat, thick heel, right? And then arch support, and then squish you. It's like, come on, this isn't that hard. So I'd like to be a voice for that. And it's also just fun, it's an enjoyable. What else am I going to do?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's funny because like over the years, I've kind of just seen myself like thinking like, what has stood the test of time? Like, and it's like what would people back in the day, like back in the day do? It's like I love like every day at work, I work from home. And so I'm sitting at the desk that I work from all the time now. And you will find me on my Instagram during my lunch break every day, outside, barefoot, shirt off, soaking up the sun.
Yeah.
That's just me. And so it's like, it's funny that, like, I mean, I feel like there's more talk about prescriptions. There's more talk about all these fixes. And then it's like little old Roman I feel good. I feel healthy, standing out in the sun, intermittent fasting, running in minimalist shoes. It's like finding these little fixes that will hopefully support me in my growth and being a healthier, live longer, everything like that. And kind of just get back to the basics instead of complicating things.
Well, I think the deal with talking about a whole bunch of things, hopefully no one takes my advice, because I'll just spout what I think. But I think that like Western medicine in general is really good at acute problems, like acute. So if you get in a car accident, if you fall off a building, if you've got some kind of problem like that, or some injury or whatever, man, they're lifesavers. They will save your life. But if you can, at least this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to avoid taking any medication that I possibly can, unless I absolutely needed to, right? And hopefully it's just for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's my deal. I think that we have incredible technology, but like most things, we just overuse them. And we become reliant. We're too quick to become reliant on things that make us feel comfortable. That's what the sandals are about. That's what my personal training is. It's not comfortable always to go out and run in the middle of winter or when it's really hot, but it's something that's good for me. And so I need to do it.
Yep.
So, it's better than spending a bunch of money on pills for, at the doctor.
Yeah.
Just try and stay healthy before you have to go.
Yep. Got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Yep. And so before closing out, do you got any last words for the audience?
Well, it's great talking to you guys. It's really nice to meet you, Roman. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, if you have any questions about the sandals, we always tell people go to contact@shammasandals.com. Happy to help. And for those of you that try it, like, just go slow. Start out slow, right? Just keep putting those good experiences in the bank, and before long you'll have a really big bank account. But take your time. We have a transition guide on the home page. You just subscribe to our newsletter, you get a really smart, thoughtful transition guide. Roman, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah, I need
by
it.
a PhD. This guy knows what he's talking about, and I would trust him more than me. So that's it. It's been fun hanging out.
Awesome. Josh, I appreciate you taking the time, and looking forward to sharing this episode.
Absolutely. All right.
Perfect.
Good talking to you, man.
Yep, you as well.